Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Celebration of Life service for Mark Horn, also known as Yoni Horn, also known as Jonathan. We are very honored to talk about this amazing person. The family is here. I know Herschel, David, his mom, Kalina, his wife, and everyone. And he made such an impact, such a difference, because there are so many people here with us today. So I am delighted to be here, not for the cause, but in honor to honor Jonathan, Yoni, Mark, as best as we can. And I've heard so many wonderful things from all of the people who have been writing notes and comments and shared their love for him and their friendship. He was absolutely an outstanding person. And I think you can tell by everybody here and the dedication from all over the country and various countries in the world as well. So it's my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Seth Frisch, who is going to take over at this point, and I will be running the tech stuff. So welcome, Rabbi Frisch.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm honored to be here with you in Jonathan, Mark, Yoni's memory. I'm gonna refer to him as Mark. So if any of you are wondering who I'm talking about, he had a number of different ways he was known, and I'll be using that name. And then towards the end of the service, I want everyone to know that I'm going to be reciting what's called the Prayer of Memorial. And you're going to hear his Hebrew name in that prayer. He obviously he was born into the Jewish tradition, and he lived in that way. And we're going to honor him in that way, as we would anyone who's ever been part of this people from the beginning of time until now. So I'm going to begin with some prayers. Anything I say in Hebrew, I'll say it also in English, and so that no one should wonder what I'm saying or doing. They're prayers that are quite ancient, but for some people, they're living dialogue with something much bigger than each one of us. So I'm going to begin with a blessing, and the blessing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Was I not heard before? I'm just curious.
Just for 1 second, accidentally.
I see. Okay.
You're good.
So, okay, thank you. I'm gonna recite the blessing of what's called in the Jewish tradition the blessing of truth. Some of you may know that the Hebrew word for truth is emet. Now, some of you are unmuted, and I would urge people to mute if possible because of the feedback, especially during these moments of either prayer or blessing. I just want to remind everyone not to sound sermonic. This is not the time for that, but that the word in Hebrew emet begins with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The middle letter is a mem, which is the middle letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And the last letter of emet is a tav, which is the last letter. And by truth, we mean the whole story, the whole story. And so that's the blessing that I'm going to say. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Praised are you, O Lord our God, sovereign of the universe and the righteous judge of truth. Amen. From the book of Job, Adonai Natan ve'Adonai Lekach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given us a beautiful gift, and God has taken this gift, not from us, but to be in another place. And that other place is going to be in our heart and our memory for all time. And for this, we thank the sovereign of the universe for the life of Yoni, of Yonatan, and of Mark. In the book of Isaiah, one of the great prophets, he says, cry out. And one of the things that we say in response to the prophet is, what more can I cry? Has not this life been hard enough? Have not I shed tears? Have not I struggled with illness and with loss and sadness, with failure and setback? Have I not? So we say to the prophet, what more can I cry? And the prophet answers us and says, the grass withers, the flower fades, the beautiful plants of the field, the trees, they go through the seasons and they change. And then a day comes, a wind shall blow over each and every one of us where we once stood, where we stood strong against the wind. And sadly, there could be a moment in time in which no one will remember where we once grew. And so love, companionship, friendship, and family must remain in our hearts. And as we know, and the prophet taught, family has many layers, many corners, and many understandings. And still family will reign within our hearts, our minds, and our memory as long as we allow all of this, the memory, to remain with us. That is what we're doing today. In the sense of being a rabbi, I would just mention that it is understood that when a ship sets out to sea, there is a custom among many peoples to take a perfectly good bottle of champagne and crack it against the hull of a ship and say, bon voyage. And a ship sets out to sea and it encounters storms, it's tossed to and fro, going from port to port, taking on cargo, letting off cargo, new experiences, new places, exotic even. But a day comes when that ship begins to list a bit, tossed to and fro, like all of our lives. And the ship will come home again. And it is up to us to receive. It is up to us to accept that journey. Wherever it has set sail to, and those aboard it have set foot upon dry land, ultimately it comes home again. Yoni, Jonathan, Mark, he has come home again. And the voyage has seemingly ended. But if we take seriously the idea of memory, then we will let him back in. And we will keep him on our mind because he is our family, he is our friend. And to forget him, to let him stay at sea, just beyond the horizon, that's not what makes family or friendship what it really is. So we must read the manifest. That's what we're doing today, and to allow the memory to come back into us. So I'm going to ask Dr. Jana if you wouldn't mind to give us a little bit of a presentation that Herschel's brother has put together, which will really poke at our memory and perhaps pull a little bit, but it will get us into an understanding of some of the pictures that we have either in our mind or in our memories. And now it will be on our screens and in our memories forever. So Dr. Jan, if you would, please.
Yeah.
With the clouds so far behind. When trouble is spinning dust high above the chimney top to where finding me somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly. Dream that you did to me, oh why can't I see trees so green that it roses tongue. I'll watch them bloom for me and you when I think to myself. What a wonderful world. That's the skies of blue and I say clouds away and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself.
So, let's see, Dr. Joseph, were you able to, I saw it, but I'm not sure if anyone else saw it. Was it?
It
Jen?
was fine, yeah. We could
Okay.
see it.
Okay.
It will be played again.
Okay.
I'm going to be offering this presentation again where you can all find it. So anyone who didn't catch it or didn't hear it, it will definitely be played again for you and I'll make sure you know where it is.
Wonderful. I would just mention that Herschel had put that together and really, you know, when you hear the music, even in the form that it came over the internet, it provokes a certain sense of memory, and Herschel, I do appreciate that in so many ways. And then the pictures, I mean, they're just lovely. The presentation and I think it's worth saying that pictures help our memory, right? We have pictures in our mind, and sometimes pictures flash in front of us. So wonderful. I do want to mention that there are people who certain people who we've asked to speak and have asked to speak as well, obviously, and importantly, David, his brother, now would like to share with us some thoughts and some memories. And David, is that okay with you to do that?
Early it is.
Okay, great. Wonderful. If you would.
All right. Well, I'm David. Mark's younger brother. Herschel is the youngest. I was up until 1:30 last night trying to write a eulogy. Gave up after 6 drafts. Just wasn't happening. Mark, as you all know, was brilliant, well-spoken, and he was a very compassionate person, which made his response to me, if he thought I was off point, kind of amusing. He would grunt at me. I'm quite sure each of the drafts I tried last night were grunt worthy. I want to try to share the person I knew, not recite his LinkedIn credentials. Mark was a man of the world. He went to California for his advanced degree. He spent time in England with a Rhodes Scholarship. More recently, he spent many years in Brazil, over several stints. Something about the land, the language, and the culture captivated him, and that was his happy place.
Nunca atende você.
He-
É isso, mano. Sempre tem uma explicação.
So he,
Não
more
fala.
recently, after living in Brazil, returned to New Jersey, and we reconnected after quite some time. And he lived in an apartment very close to my practice, and we developed our Sunday breakfast ritual. The Sunday breakfasts were talking about the news of the day, mostly talking about our problems. When I say our problems, it was usually my problems. And inevitably, finish our breakfast, his legal pad would come out, and he would start to chart or list the plan of action to address my problem. Over time, as I say, we actually reconnected. I came to learn that he did this for many people. I'm thinking of his brother, and I'm getting special attention. He had people all over the world that he mentored, literally. Just in the last summer before he left he moved to Mexico to live with his wife last summer. Just two people. There was a young man in Eastern Europe that was struggling in college, just to find his way. And Mark actually arranged an internship for him in New York. And it worked, meaning Mark did the legwork, did the footwork, put the young man in touch with who he needed to be in touch with, and this was able to do a couple months in New York with a business that will help his career. I know, again, just as an example, another man in Africa that he was giving business advice to. This man was an entrepreneur trying to figure out how to get a business going, and Mark would just help him. So I guess I'm saying his mentorship was active. He researched, he helped. And these are just two examples. He had a second group of international acquaintances, and people all over the world are learning English. And there are actually people that you pay and they will talk to you. Mark, he was all over the internet, and people found him and they wanted to learn English, and he would arrange, they would just have conversations, and he would help people he would never meet, he would never really know, learn English. And this was, again, something he did, I don't know if it was daily, but it was very routine. So this was just part of his international circle. This is the Mark that I would really like you all to know, a man whose reach spread across the world. It's always wonderful when we hear about a celebrity or a wealthy philanthropist who uses their position for the greater good. Mark was able to do much the same from a much smaller platform. I love my brother. He was a good man, and the world is not as good since he passed. I would like to thank you all for attending, and I'm curious if I got a grunt. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's very heartfelt. And, with what I felt from Herschel's presentation, what I felt from your words, these are the words of a brother. And I think we sometimes say in many traditions that, our cup is lessened with his passing. And so I know the world is a little bit different now. I think the world is different, yeah. So thank you for your words. I appreciate that. Dr. Jana, did you want to say anything before I go to Paulina?
Well, I probably would just reiterate probably a lot of what David said. It was a pleasure for me to get to know Mark. I have a big interest in languages, and he told me, the part of the family that was Hungarian, he was going to go to Hungary and learn the language, and I got inspired to learn Hungarian as well. Though I'm sort of married in, I don't have Hungarian relatives, but I liked it. I very much thought he was an engaging, wonderful person who made a great contribution to the world. And I was very happy to become friends with him, as so many people have been friends. And of course, with his passing, I wanted to do everything I could to bring together the massive amounts of people who he affected, between searching for his long lost relatives and the DNA, and reaching out to people all over the world. And of course, his, wonderful wife, Kalina, we definitely want to hear from her and stay in touch. So, and thank you, Rabbi Frisch, for being here. And that's pretty much it. I hold him in very high regard, and it is quite a loss, but, we're trying to do it justice, and I think we are. Okay.
Okay, I would like I'd like to share a little bit with you of Kalina's words that she sent, if that's with your permission. And I think it's important to do so. Some of you also may want to, and I was speaking with Dr. Jana a little bit beforehand. Those of you who want to add things, once we have this posted, I think, to general media, I think YouTube, for example, might be one of the things that you're thinking about. Then other people will be able to comment and go on and add to that. And so I'm going to defer to you, but I do want to include Kalina's words with your permission before I add a rabbinic
Sure.
rabbinic words to that. So importantly, there are just so many things that are important to say, but when someone chooses to spend time with someone, it's important to hear their words. And by time, I mean a bond of marriage. It's sacred, obviously, in many traditions. Sometimes it's called a life partner. Sometimes it's called a window in time. But Kalina wrote this, and she introduces it in this way: one last message to my husband, my friend, my partner, and my love. And here it is. Now, it's in English. Her primary language is Portuguese, which obviously Mark had mastered. And I apologize for not knowing Portuguese. And I'm sorry for other people who only speak that, but we will have a chance to translate more. Dr. Jana, you'll obviously help us with that. So here it goes, for those of you who speak and understand English. One last message to my husband, my friend, my partner, and my love. It's been hard waking up without you by my side. It's been hard not being able to take your hand anymore. But you always thought I was a strong woman. I think this time you got it wrong. I will continue trying to endure your absence. I remember every detail of our life. When I close my eyes, I can see you. And you know what comforts me? It's just that you don't have pain anymore. I want you to know that I'm going to be okay. It might take a while, but I'll be fine. I'm going back to sleep, smiling and resigning myself without having you by my side. I tell everyone you didn't speak English to me, but I'm not complaining. I really wanted you to keep doing this. You asked me to learn the language and continue to live here in the United States. I promise I'll learn, and maybe some people will think it was better when I didn't know, because I'm going to talk a lot. Mark, you were and are the most amazing person I've ever known. Mark, you searched for me for many years. When you found me, you married me. So do me a favor. Wait a little longer, please. Do not give up on me. We will meet again. I love you, Mark. I love you, and I will love you forever. And to that, I can only add the word Amen. It's a beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you, Kalina, so much for that. And because I'm a rabbi and I don't have to be rational, and Dr. Jana, you'll forgive me for being emotional and perhaps a little faithful,
No problem.
but you will be together again. That's what all the traditions say. And in representing the traditions today, you will always have each other. And we appreciate and thank you for your words of love and for kindness and for commitment. And as I said at the beginning, for your memories. I want to add a little bit at this moment. I want to say that there's so many there's so many examples from all over the world of people who enter your life, and just by being there for that moment in time, they can change your life. I think, David, you said it best. He was sought out, but he also entered people's lives with the help of the technologies of the 20th and 21st centuries. And he changed their lives. He was willing to talk and to, almost like a signpost, move the sign and change people's lives. It came through in talking with you. And he did this with no expectation of thanks, with no expectation of a return. He was a brilliant person. We know that early on in life. He was headed into medical training. And only because the signpost had turned for him did he turn to other things, but went on to master the highest level of science. And as Dr. Jana shared with us, I mean, he was a polyglot. His mastery of language was unequaled. And he did all of this. He learned all of this, not only because of his brilliance, but because he wanted to share in life, whether it was science of life or the people of life, people he'd never met, with no expectations of anyone patting him on the back. None. And we have examples of this from history. One of the people that I thought of when I was talking to both of you brothers, both Herschel and David, and of course with Dr. Jen as well, I thought of people that are highlighted within our biblical tradition. I think we all know, for example, whatever tradition you come from, I think we all know that Moses, he leaves his family and he goes far away and he seeks solace. He seeks solace in the privacy of a desert region. And yet he understands the universe tells him to go back to his family again. And when he gets back to his family, he tells them about all the things that he experienced while being away. And he tells them about all the changes. And he spends time with them. And then a day comes in this incredible biblical narrative, not of a trickster, but of a member of a family that he's created and inherited both. A day comes that he can no longer go on. It even says in the Bible that God tells Moses, your day has come. You can go on no further. And we now know that Moses was Jewish because he stood up and started to argue with God. And he says, I'm not ready. I want to continue on. And they went back and forth. It says this in the great legends of all peoples, both in Judaism and Christianity and Islam. They go back and forth. And finally, God says to Moses, Musa, what is it? It's your day. It's your time. What is it? Why do you argue with me? What is it that you miss? And Moses says, there will come a day when my family will cross that river and go to a land that you promised us. It may be on the morrow. And you've told me I can't go with them. I can't be with them. And I was away from them for so long. God says to Moses, what do you want? Moses says, I want to go with them and hold the next generation in my hands. I want to walk with them. I want to be part of their lives. I want to be there right with them. Like I've grown into this now in this second part of my life. I want to be with them. And God says again, so what is it what makes you want this? Moses says, when they cross that river, I fear, I'm scared that they will forget me. They'll live their lives, and I will stay on this side of the river, and they will enter this better place, life. And God says to Moses something that I think he says to everyone. The universe speaks with these words to all of us. If you've come back to family and created friendships and created a larger family and helped people, cajoled them, yelled at them, scolded them, lifted them, been there with them, learned the language of them and you to share. If you've done all that, and you have, the record is replete, the manifest is clear, the horizon is no further than your hand and your mind and your memory. If you have been with them, lo, these years, and you have, if you've done all that, you will be with them forever. And they will never, ever forget you. I think that's what we're saying today. The same words that the universe has spoken. The same words that the universe now speaks to Jonathan and to Mark in the many chapters of his life. We all did cross that river, all of us. From the many nations, the many peoples, we cross that river. But we don't leave anyone behind. And I want you all to know that we still read from a book called the Book of Moses. And I suspect we're going to read from a book called the Book of Jonathan. And we're going to remember him because that's what makes friendship and that's what makes family. The ability and the desire and the necessity of memory and keeping loved ones right here in our mind and on our heart and on our tongue. That's what we are doing today by memory. When Dr. Jana posts this on YouTube, it is our responsibility to plug into that, you children of the 21st century, and to write your memory, because it will be heard by the universe, and it will be heard by Jonathan. He will hear it, and we will all be the beneficiaries of that relationship, because we will not let him die, ever, not in our hearts. So I'm going to say something in Hebrew, which is something we say to anyone who has meant something to us. I'm going to say, Tehi nishmato tzrura b'tzror hachayim. Yoni, Yonatan, by his Hebrew name. Yonatan, I want you to know, you are now bound up in the bonds of life eternal. The Lord is now your portion, and our wish for you, that the universe can now hear, is that you find rest, and you find rest in shalom, rest in peace. And for that, I'm going to ask everyone to join me in saying Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to now recite, with your permission, what's called the memorial prayer. It's in Hebrew. I'll translate it into English as well. There's no voodoo here. And by that, I mean there's no secrets. We ask God to open up the gates. And just with, as we saw with Moses, we'll see now with Jonathan. Amalei rachamim shochein babramim. Hamatzeh menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina. B'ma'alot kedoshim utaharim. Kezohar harakia mazhirim. Et nishmat Yonatan ben Dov. Shahalach la'olamo. Began Eden tehei menuchato ana bal harachamim. Hastirehu b'seter kanfecha la'olamim. B'tzror chayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato. B'yanoch b'shalom amishkavo v'nomar. Amen. And now in English, you'll hear his Hebrew name. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Yonatan ben Dov, who is now gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed here in the land of the living and among us. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. The Lord is now his portion. May he rest in peace, a full peace of shalom. And let us all say, Amen. Now I'm going to add this, Dr. Jana, with your permission, the Kaddish. Some of you have heard the Kaddish before, some of you may not have. It is a prayer that is said in Aramaic. So for those of you who are familiar with the Jewish tradition, you've heard this before. Those of you who are unfamiliar, it's the same language. Let's say, for example, if you've come from a Christian background, it's the same language that Jesus even used in his prayers. And I will translate it towards the end, but one of the things that I want you all to know, even though it's the mourner's Kaddish, there's not one word of death here, because we don't believe that this is the end. We believe in a larger book of life, of which there are many chapters yet to be written of Jonathan's life. And importantly, you'll hear the word chayim, which means life in Hebrew. So when a Jewish person makes a toast, if you will, unlike other nations and other peoples, some will say, here's mud in your eye, or bottoms up, and various things. When a Jewish person raises a small glass of wine, a Kiddush cup, a Jewish person is obligated to say the words, l'chaim, to life. And yet, chai is life. So why chaim? Because it's all of us. It's plural. Chaim is the plural of life because it means all of us. Brothers, wife, mother, friend, cousin, all of us. Because these relationships are the relationships of life and of chaim. Life, love, commitment, and memory. We cannot let these things go. That is what you're going to experience in hearing this Kaddish. Yidkadal v'yidkadash shemei rabbah,
Amen.
divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayedechol Israel, ba'agala uvizman kariv, v'imru, amen. Yehi Shor Barak Olam Umay Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitpa'ar Yitramam Yitnaseh Yithadar Yithaleh Yithalal Shemei Kudusha Brich Le'ela Min Kol Birchata Lishirata Tushbechata Nechemata Damiran Yama Imru Amen. Behei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya Bechaim Aleinu Yalko Yisrael Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Shalomad Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Yalko Yisrael V'imru Amen. Amakom Yenechem Etchem B'toch Shar Avilei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. We say to God, you who have created peace in the heavens, that wonderful wholeness of peace, we ask that you give us at this moment in time a little portion of that peace, of that shalom. Because missing a brother and a member of the family and a husband and a son, it is not just mournful, it is painful. And we require a certain sense of wholeness so that we can continue on and find meaning in our lives, good meaning, helping others, just like Mark did, helping others, being there for others, helping the world. All these wonderful things is what he would want for you. And if you were to say, in light of this Kaddish, I'm going to curl myself up into a ball and never get out of bed again because I'm so mournful and distraught, this would not be what he would want. He would want you to continue, not in the shadow, but he would want you to continue the tradition that he cared for in life. He wanted you, all of us, to help other people. And if we can do that in one small way, we can do what this is called in this tradition a mitzvah. If we can do that, then his life, together with our lives, can help to change the world one small step at a time. Oseh shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
With that, we end the Jewish service of both mourning and of life in Jonathan, in Yoni, in Mark's memory. And I'm going to turn it now over, thanking all of you for being part of this. I'm going to turn this back over to Dr. Jana, and she will give us instructions as to how to connect to a recording of everything that you've seen and experienced today so that we can keep him alive. In our memories. Amen. Dr. Jana.
Thank you, Rabbi Frisch. That was an absolutely wonderful, moving ceremony, service. I think everybody spoke beautifully and you really put it together for us. We appreciate immensely what you've done to help lead this today. For watching the video and giving your comments, you can find everything on YouTube, probably on my site, Ask Dr. Jana, but I'll make it all available. I'll let you know on Facebook even where to find it, because most of you I found on Facebook under Mark's friends and family and all that. So I left my phone number in the chat. I'm very easy to find. If you want to reach me, just call me or email and I'll help you get to the video. And we're interested in everyone's comments, but we're not going to take the time right now to get it, but you can add it when you see the video that we're going to have out there. So thank you so much for everybody to participate. Thanks for checking in. We appreciate everybody's contributions and being here. And I know that, you know, we have definitely done our very best for Mark, Yoni, Jonathan. And, you know, thanks to the family, to David, to Herschel, to Kalina, Diane, to everybody who helped support Mark and the service today. Thanks, everybody. We're signing off. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom.
Thank you. Shalom.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
And David and Herschel, if you have any, and obviously Kalina, if you have any questions that I can help you with from the Jewish traditions perspective, please don't hesitate to contact me. Please don't hesitate. All right. All the best. Dr. Jana, thank you so much for bringing meaningfulness to this very difficult moment in your life and in all of our lives, I'm sure. All right.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Frisch. We're very honored to have you and to have everyone here. Okay. Signing off.